We're back. Cindy Williams is with us tonight. She plays the role of Shirley Feeney, as you know, in the hit television series Laverne Shirley. And this spring, she's going to be appearing here in Los Angeles in the stage play, Merton of the Movies. Would you welcome...
They made her work through her pregnancy. They broke their promises. They turned her best friend against her. At 75, Cindy Williams breaks her silence about the real reason she walked away from TV's #1 show. The truth is darker than anyone guessed. A $20 million legal battle, a near-death medical nightmare, and a 15-year feud with Penny Marshall that Hollywood tried to hide. Laverne and Shirley was America's favorite sitcom, but behind the scenes, Cindy was living a nightmare. Cindy Williams was born Cynthia Jane Williams on August 22, 1947, in Van Nuys, California. Her father, John, worked as an electronic technician. Her mother, Lily, was a waitress. Cindy grew up in a working-class family, where money was often tight, but laughter was never in short supply. She had one sister, Carol Ann, and an older half-brother named Jim from her mother's first marriage. When Cindy was a year old, her family moved to Dallas, Texas. They stayed there until she was 10, then returned to Los Angeles. Her father came from Welsh, French, and Cherokee roots. Her mother was Italian-American. John had a warm and funny personality, but alcoholism made him unpredictable. At one point, things got so difficult that Cindy and her mother moved to Texas to live with her grandmother. A year later, they reconciled with her father and came back home. Even as a child, Cindy loved performing. She would copy commercials and act out little plays at home. She imagined being discovered by Debbie Reynolds, one of her biggest idols. Her father also had a talent for entertaining. He would do comic impressions of Jackie Gleason and Milton Berle, which made Cindy love comedy even more. As she grew older, that love turned into something more serious. She started acting in church productions and school plays. At Birmingham High School in Los Angeles, she built a reputation for her talent. She wasn't the only one with big dreams. Sally Field was one of her classmates. So was future philanthropist Michael Milken. Cindy graduated in 1965, ready to take the next step. She enrolled at Los Angeles City College, majoring in theater arts. The program was known for being tough. Out of 236 students, only 12 usually made it through. Cindy worked hard to be one of them. She juggled her studies with jobs at IHOP, banks, law firms, and even Whiskey A Go-Go. Her time at LACC made her realize something important. She loved theater, but she wasn't meant to teach it. She imagined herself interrupting students to show them how to perform a scene. That was when she knew. She didn't belong in a classroom. She belonged on a stage. Cindy Williams didn't just stumble into Hollywood. She worked for it. Her first break came in the late 1960s when she landed roles in national commercials for Foster Grant sunglasses and TWA Airlines. These weren't just any ads. Foster Grant was a major brand with a famous tagline, and TWA represented luxury travel at its peak. Cindy's presence gave both a fresh and youthful charm. But acting wasn't just something she tried on a whim. As a child, she wrote and performed her own plays. Her father's love for comedy, especially his impersonations of Jackie Gleason and Milton Berle, inspired her even more. Breaking into the industry wasn't easy. Cindy grew up in modest circumstances. While chasing auditions, she worked as a waitress to support herself. The commercial gigs she booked were more than just paychecks. They gave her experience and exposure, preparing her for bigger roles. Casting directors noticed her ability to shine on camera, and soon she was stepping into the world of television. Her TV debut came with guest roles on popular shows. In Room 222, 1969 to 1971, She played Rhoda Zager in 3 episodes. The show was groundbreaking, tackling issues like racial integration in schools. Cindy proved she could handle serious themes while keeping a relatable presence. Around the same time, she appeared in Nanny and the Professor and Love, American Style. The latter was a light-hearted anthology about relationships, the perfect place for Cindy to show her comedic side. Between 1969 and 1975, she appeared in 23 films and television shows. Her work ethic was undeniable, and Hollywood was starting to take notice. One of those watching was Gary Marshall, a man who would later play a huge role in her career. In the middle of these early successes, Cindy found herself sharing the stage with one of Hollywood's greatest legends, Gene Kelly. She was invited to perform a tap dance routine with him on a variety show. It should have been a dream moment, but things didn't go as planned. She accidentally stepped on his foot. Then she did it again. Cindy was horrified, convinced she had just ruined everything. But Kelly, ever the professional, continued the routine without missing a beat. He never showed any sign of frustration. Later, Cindy would call this moment both humbling and inspiring. She didn't let the embarrassment shake her confidence. Instead, she used it as a lesson in professionalism. That story became part of her one-woman show, Me, Myself, and Shirley, proving that even awkward moments could turn into something unforgettable. Then came her big break. In 1972, she landed a role in Travels with My Aunt, directed by George Cukor. She played Thule, an American hippie who befriends the lead character on the Orient Express. Starring alongside Maggie Smith, Cindy held her own against one of the greatest actresses of her time. The following year, she took on a role that would change everything, Laurie Henderson in American Graffiti, 1973. Directed by George Lucas, the film captured the nostalgia of teenage life in early 1960s America. Cindy played the high school sweetheart of Ron Howard's character, bringing warmth and complexity to the role. American Graffiti was more than a hit. It became a cultural phenomenon. The film earned 5 Academy Award nominations, including Best Picture, and launched the careers of future stars like Harrison Ford. Cindy's performance earned her a BAFTA nomination for Best Supporting Actress. These roles proved she could handle both comedy and drama. She wasn't just another young actress trying to make it in Hollywood. She was a rising star. And the best was still ahead. Cindy Williams's Hollywood career took off in a way that many actors only dream of. In the early 1970s, she landed roles in 2 films that would go on to define an era of American cinema. One of them was The Conversation, 1974, directed by Francis Ford Coppola, a master of storytelling who had just delivered The Godfather 2 years prior. The film followed Gene Hackman as Harry Call, a surveillance expert obsessed with a cryptic conversation between a young couple. Cindy played Anne, the woman at the heart of the mystery. Her role was subtle but essential. Every word her character spoke carried weight, leaving Harry and the audience questioning what was real and what wasn't. The Conversation was a slow burn, a film that lingered in the mind long after the credits rolled. Critics hailed it as one of the greatest thrillers of the decade. It won the Grand Prix at Cannes and was nominated for Best Picture at the Academy Awards. Years later, it earned a spot in the National Film Registry, recognized for its cultural and cinematic significance. Cindy's performance may not have been the loudest, but it was proof of her ability to hold her own in a film led by some of the best actors of the time, including John Cazale and Gene Hackman. This came right after her breakout in American Graffiti, 1973, where she played Laurie Henderson, a role that earned her a BAFTA nomination. Back-to-back appearances in 2 of the most celebrated films of the era made it seem like Cindy was destined for a long career in film. But just as things were picking up, her path took an unexpected turn. Instead of Hollywood blockbusters, she found her biggest success on television. She first appeared as Shirley Feeney on Happy Days, a role that was meant to be temporary, but quickly became something much bigger. Shirley, along with Penny Marshall's Laverne DeFazio, struck a chord with audiences. Their chemistry was undeniable, and soon ABC gave them their own show. In 1976, Laverne and Shirley premiered, and almost overnight, it became a cultural phenomenon. Set in Milwaukee in the 1950s and 60s, the show followed two working-class women navigating life with humor and determination. Cindy's Shirley was sweet and hopeful, a dreamer who balanced out Laverne's brash confidence. Their friendship was the heart of the show, and audiences loved watching them take on life's challenges, whether it was a disastrous date or a chaotic shift at the bottling plant. The show's theme song, with its now iconic chant, Schlemiel, Schleimazel, Hasenpfeffer Incorporated, became a pop culture staple. At its peak, Laverne and Shirley was the #1 show on television. Cindy's comedic timing and ability to shift between slapstick humor and heartfelt moments made Shirley a fan favorite. Her performance earned her a Golden Globe nomination for Best Actress in a television series in 1978, placing her alongside legendary TV stars like Carol Burnett. It was a testament to her talent, proving she could do more than just play a sidekick. She could carry a show. The series' success extended beyond live-action television. It even spawned an animated spin-off, Laverne and Shirley in the Army, where Cindy voiced her character. For years, she was a household name, one half of one of TV's most beloved duos. But just as the show was reaching its final seasons, tensions behind the scenes changed everything. A big part of the problem was Penny's brother, Gary Marshall, who produced the show. His involvement created an uneven playing field that Cindy struggled with. In his memoir, My Happy Days in Hollywood, Gary Marshall described the set as chaotic. He said there was constant yelling, cursing, and conflict. Cindy reportedly believed Penny got special treatment because of her family connection. Penny, on the other hand, didn't like Cindy's husband, musician Bill Hudson, and thought he was too demanding. As the show became more successful, the problems got worse. Both actresses wanted more control over their roles, and they often clashed with the writers. The tension wasn't just between Cindy and Penny. It spread to the entire production team. Cindy stuck with the show for over 150 episodes, but by the 8th season, things had reached a breaking point. Everything escalated in March 1982 when Cindy announced she was pregnant. At first, Paramount assured her that they would write her pregnancy into the storyline. They told her she could work until mid-October without any issues. But as the months passed, those promises fell apart. The studio pushed her to sign a contract that required her to work until her due date. Cindy refused. She saw it as unfair and unrealistic. Penny tried to convince her to stay, even suggesting that Cindy could rest while she took on more of the physical comedy. But the situation had already gone too far. Cindy decided to leave. Her departure was sudden. Cast members were shocked, and fans had no idea what had happened. Years later, Cindy admitted that trying to hide her pregnancy bump during filming had been stressful. She was also frustrated that producers still expected her to do physical scenes despite her condition. She felt like she had no choice but to walk away. Cindy Williams's departure from Laverne and Shirley was not handled well on screen. Her final episode aired on October 12, 1982. In it, Shirley Feeney appeared alongside Laverne DeFazio in a lighthearted storyline about hypnosis. But by the very next episode, she was gone. The only explanation was a brief note saying her husband had been transferred overseas. Fans were left confused. There was no farewell scene, no emotional goodbye. Just an abrupt exit that felt out of place for a character who had been a core part of the show for years. But she wasn't done fighting. In August 1982, she filed a $20 million lawsuit against Paramount and Gary Marshall. She claimed the studio had gone back on their word. They had promised her $75,000 per episode for 22 episodes, plus $37,500 for reruns. But when she became pregnant, those agreements started falling apart. The lawsuit also accused Gary of encouraging Paramount to push her out of the show. The legal battle highlighted a bigger issue in Hollywood: how pregnant actresses were treated. Cindy's case brought attention to the struggles of working mothers in the industry. Over time, it led to better conditions for women on set. Studios began providing nurseries, and discussions about fair treatment became more common. The lawsuit was eventually settled out of court for an undisclosed amount, but the damage was already done. After Cindy Williams left Laverne and Shirley in 1982, she didn't step away from acting. She moved into made-for-TV dramas and comedies, proving she could take on a variety of roles. One of her first major projects was Euphoria, a sci-fi comedy where she starred alongside Fred Ward and Harry Dean Stanton. The movie was finished in 1981, but didn't get released until 1985. Independent films often struggled with funding and distribution, so delays like this were common. When it finally came out, it became another example of Williams's willingness to take on unique and unexpected projects. Television remained a big part of her career. In 1990, she starred in Normal Life, a sitcom about a family dealing with everyday chaos. It didn't last long, but it kept her in the public eye. A few years later, she worked again with producers from Laverne and Shirley on Getting By, a sitcom that aired from 1993 to 1994. She played Kathy Hale, a single mother who shared a home with another single mom in suburban Illinois. The show only ran for 2 seasons, but it gave her a chance to play a relatable, down-to-earth character. She also made guest appearances on popular shows like 8 Simple Rules, Touched by an Angel, and Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman. Her ability to switch between comedy and drama kept her working throughout the 90s. But television wasn't her only focus. She also performed on stage in national tours of Grease and Moon Over Buffalo. Taking on live theater was a different challenge, but it showed how committed she was to her craft. Behind the scenes, she took on an unexpected role as a producer. She co-produced Father of the Bride in 1991, and its sequel, Father of the Bride Part 2, in 1995. Both films, starring Steve Martin and Diane Keaton, were major hits. The first movie made $89 million at the U.S. box office. The second made $76 million. Williams didn't just help produce these films, she played a key role in bringing them to life. Nancy Meyers, who co-wrote and produced both movies, later said that Williams was the one who suggested remaking the 1950 Spencer Tracy classic. That one idea helped shape Meyers' career and proved that Williams had a sharp eye for storytelling. She never lost touch with the fans who loved her as Shirley Feeney. She had a recurring role on For Your Love from 1998 to 2002, appearing as Ronnie in 4 episodes. It introduced her to a younger audience while still giving longtime fans a familiar face to enjoy. Reunion specials also kept her connected to her past. In 1995, she joined Penny Marshall and the rest of the cast for the Laverne and Shirley reunion. In 2002, she and Marshall teamed up again for Laverne and Shirley. Together again, where they shared behind-the-scenes stories and even performed skits based on their classic characters. Even in the 2000s, she kept acting. In 2013, she appeared on Sam and Cat alongside Penny Marshall, a fun tribute to their history together. She never let herself be defined by just one role. She kept working, kept entertaining, and made sure her legacy lasted for decades after Laverne and Shirley ended. Cindy Williams was known to the world as Shirley Feeney from Laverne and Shirley, but her real life was a mix of love, family, and tough decisions. In 1982, she married musician Bill Hudson, a man she never expected to fall for. They met during a celebrity baseball game while Cindy was still starring in Laverne and Shirley. At first, she thought he was just another Hollywood playboy, but that changed when he sent her a Christmas gift, a book called Heart Sounds by Martha Lear. It was thoughtful and unexpected. That small gesture led to their first dinner together, and Cindy later said the night completely changed how she saw him. When she met him in person again, she even thought he looked like a Greek god. Their relationship moved fast. They got married on May 1, 1982, making Cindy the sister-in-law of Goldie Hawn and the stepmother of Kate and Oliver Hudson. That same year, she found out she was pregnant with her first child, Emily. But what should have been a happy time quickly turned into a battle with the producers of Laverne and Shirley. Her contract required her to work even on her due date. When she couldn't reach a fair agreement, she made a life-changing decision. She left the show in 1982. It was a major turning point in her career. But for Cindy, family came first. Over the years, she and Bill Hudson built a life together while raising their two children. Emily was born in 1982, followed by their son Zachary in 1986. Cindy loved being a mother, but she also described it as a test by fire. She worked hard to keep her children out of the Hollywood spotlight, but they were always there to support her when it mattered. In 2004, when she received a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Emily and Zachary stood proudly beside her. Blended family life wasn't always easy. Bill Hudson had two older children from his previous marriage to Goldie Hawn, and his relationship with them was complicated. Cindy did her best to create a warm home for everyone, but family dynamics were never simple. In 2021, Kate Hudson spoke about wanting to reconnect with her half-siblings, Emily and Zachary, showing that Cindy's efforts to build strong family bonds had a lasting impact. After 18 years of marriage, Cindy and Bill's relationship came to an end. In December 2000, she filed for divorce, citing irreconcilable differences. It was a difficult chapter in her life, but through it all, she stayed focused on her children. In 2015, Cindy shared her story with the world in her memoir, Shirley, I Jest, co-written with Dave Smitherman. The book was filled with humor, but it also gave an honest look at her life. She shared behind-the-scenes moments from American Graffiti and Laverne and Shirley, and opened up about the personal struggles she faced. She wrote about her decision to leave the show at its peak, her marriage to Bill, and the challenges of raising children in the entertainment industry. She also reflected on her divorce, describing it as one of the hardest times in her life. But even in those moments, Cindy found ways to laugh. She believed that humor could get you through anything. In May 2012, Cindy Williams felt a sharp pain in her abdomen. At first, doctors thought it was just colic, but within days, her condition became critical. Her kidneys shut down. Her body went into septic shock. Her blood pressure dropped to dangerous levels. The infection was spreading fast, and doctors had little time to act. The cause was a lap band from a weight loss surgery she had years earlier. It had eroded through her stomach, creating a hole that allowed bacteria to leak into her body. By the time doctors realized what was happening, she was in total renal failure. She was rushed into emergency surgery. The lap band had to be removed. The damage had to be repaired. But there were no guarantees. Doctors warned her husband that she might not survive the operation. She did survive, but recovery was brutal. Cindy spent over 6 weeks in the ICU, most of that time on a ventilator and heavily sedated. She developed full-body thrush, a painful fungal infection. She suffered from red man syndrome, a severe reaction to antibiotics. Kidney failure forced her onto continuous dialysis. A 10-inch open wound stretched across her abdomen. She needed a wound vacuum, multiple drains, and a feeding tube just to stay alive. Even after leaving the hospital, her battle was far from over. She became one of the many survivors suffering from post-sepsis syndrome, a condition that affects up to 50% of people who survive sepsis. It left her with memory loss, constant fatigue, and chronic pain. She struggled to hold conversations. Simple tasks like grocery shopping or driving felt impossible. Her body had changed too. She developed kidney cysts, bladder issues, and an enlarged liver. Her muscles ached from months of being bedridden. Even 5 years later, the trauma followed her. Nightmares, flashbacks, a feeling that she was only a small part of the person she used to be. Friends who didn't understand what she was going through slowly drifted away. Despite everything, Cindy refused to stay silent. She became an advocate for sepsis awareness, using her story to warn others about the dangers of delayed diagnosis. She spoke about the early signs: fever, confusion, rapid heart rate, urging people to seek medical attention before it was too late. She also highlighted the lack of support for survivors. Many leave the hospital only to struggle alone with lasting health problems. Cindy Williams and Penny Marshall were more than just co-stars on Laverne and Shirley. They were a comedy duo that defined an era. But behind the scenes, their friendship had its challenges. Cindy left the show abruptly in 1982 due to a contract dispute related to her pregnancy. The sudden exit created tension that lasted for years. They rarely spoke, and for a long time, it seemed like their friendship was over. 15 years later, Penny reached out. She had just separated from her husband, Bill Hudson, and felt the need to reconnect. In her 2012 memoir, My Mother Was Nuts, she described how she and Cindy finally had an honest conversation. They talked about everything that had come between them. They let go of old grudges and reconnected like the friends they had once been. Cindy later said that no matter what had happened, they had too much history not to see each other as special friends. That reconciliation led to several reunions. In 2012, they appeared on Good Morning America with Michael McKean and David Lander, sharing memories of their time on the show. They also made a guest appearance on Nickelodeon's Sam and Cat, playing former TV creators who hadn't spoken in decades. The storyline was a clever nod to their real-life journey. Despite past conflicts, their bond never disappeared. Cindy often said that some of her best laughs came from working with Penny. Their on-screen chemistry was undeniable, built on their differences. Penny was loud and unpredictable. Cindy was more controlled and precise. Penny once described them as the perfect neat and sloppy opposites. Their contrasting styles made the comedy work, and audiences loved it. Even after Penny's passing in 2018 from complications related to diabetes, Cindy kept her memory alive. She spoke about their friendship in interviews and even honored Penny on stage in her one-woman show, Me, Myself, and Shirley. Their connection was something she never wanted to forget. Cindy herself passed away on January 25, 2023, at the age of 75 after a brief illness. The news hit fans hard. Tributes poured in from Hollywood. Michael McKean shared memories of her kindness and humor. Rosario Dawson and Jason Alexander praised her work and legacy. Cindy's children, Zach and Emily Hudson, described her as having a brilliant sense of humor that went beyond acting. She loved making people laugh, whether on screen or in everyday life. Beyond Hollywood, Cindy had a deep love for animals. She spent her life rescuing them and supporting animal charities. Her children spoke about how proud they were, not just of her career, but of the kindness she showed to the world. Cindy always believed in spreading joy, and she left behind a legacy of laughter and love.